are expecting an eminent guest, and I'm, honored to have him. He is an IAS officer, Ayush Prasad. We welcome, and I'm happy to, pleased to welcome Ayush Prasad, an IAS officer. He is going to be our keynote speaker for today. He is a CEO at Zilha Parishad Pune district. He majorly works in banking sector, but he has a promising career for education. He wants to do something for youth skilling, and we are blessed to have you, sir, and we are looking forward your guidance.
Thank you, Deepti ji. Thank you, everybody else who's here. And financial literacy, the idea of financial literacy has become very important as literacy itself in the last 30 to 40 years, primarily because, initially, as you know, banking was simple. Banking was just deposit and taking out money. In the last 40 years, banking and the financial sector has grown multifolds. It is not just about depositing and withdrawing money, it is also about investments, it is also about taking liabilities. And banking now not only reaches every individual thanks to the schemes such as Pradhan Mantri Jan Dhan Yojana, and also large number of bank branches and sub branches, and now through digital banking services on mobiles. And the latest to join the queue is neo banking. If you have to interact with this world, it is very important that you understand this world in itself. Finance could be understood like a imaginary world of Harry Potter. The reason why I call it an imaginary world of Harry Potter is because finance itself is so engrossing, it's so large, it's so huge, it's so beautiful in itself that finance can shake and change your real world, but also, and as a world in itself, the interconnections, the imaginations of the human civilization that comes to in the world of finance is just beautiful. Finance is nothing more than just attaching value to something. But because of attaching value to something, you ensure that the entire human civilization works in a structured manner day in and day out to achieve the larger goals of the human civilization. Now, when I'm talking all of this, it may seem like abstract concepts. But the beauty of this world is, like the world of Harry Potter, like the world of our imagination, this world not only is a world in the dream world of imagination, it impacts the real world. In working in the financial sector myself in the past, I used to see huge bundles of cash. When I saw huge bundles of cash, let's say I was managing about 37 ATMs for one leading bank in Delhi. And when we were managing huge bundles of cash, we realized that cash is nothing but paper. It is just something, a number that is written on it. Cash gains value when it goes out in the real world and it becomes somebody's ticket to food. It becomes somebody's ticket to education. It becomes somebody's ticket to some other thing that is valuable. And that is the beauty that comes through the world of finance. Finance creates assets, and it also is responsible for, to an extent, poverty. Because of finance, the standard of living has increased greatly. Because of finance, we can measure inequality. The world of finance has ensured that we have the best of the lifestyles that are possible currently, and the world of finance, who do not get to be with the world of finance, also have to understand, have to suffer because of not having enough money. There are two factors of production in our lives, in the economy. One is labor and capital. The world of finance has become more and more important because the economy itself has become more and more capital intensive. The value of labor has been going down and the value of capital has been going up. If anybody is becoming rich, it is not because of the actual income, but because of the escalation of the value of the assets held by that person. You could see the value of any billionaires that are there. Most billionaires may not even make $1 billion in their entire life. They may not even have $1 billion of revenue, but their assets are worth $1 billion because of the value of the assets that are placed in it. And this is primarily created by the world of finance. After speaking about this abstract concept and almost romanticizing and speaking about in a poetic manner about the world of finance, I'd like to come back into the real world and say how we can link almost the entire world. Today, the entire world is linked by the money economy. Even in the mainland of the country, even the most most distant tribal groups, the ones that even don't interact with the mainstream economy, even they are on a cash-based economy and they are also adapting to a digital banking sector. Um, I don't think, barring some of the tribes in the Andaman and Nicobar Islands, anywhere in India, the mainland India, we have anybody who is not interacting with the world of finance as it is today. But to understand the world of finance, we need to create literacy in the world of finance. The major challenge in doing so is that financial literacy has not become part of our school curriculum as on today. The, the National Education Policy of 2020 creates financial literacy as it creates several other skills as part of the curriculum. I hope as NCRT and SCRTs around the country create the national and state curriculum framework, they would take finance as a chapter in school education. Finance as a chapter in school education would mean a structured learning for finance. And until that happens, we would be working very, very hard through organizations like yourself to basically promote financial literacy amongst the people. When I say amongst the people, it is not only restricted to school learning, but it is also involving children who are in colleges and also adults. And we need to create this financial literacy at multiple levels. In order to do so, currently the Zilha Parishad of Pune, which happens to be one of the largest Zilha Parishads in the country, a local body, a district government, is working very hard to promote financial literacy and financial inclusion in all our efforts and policies. We work very closely with the lead bank as well as all the other regional rural banks, cooperative banks, commercial banks and nationalized banks and the State Bank of India to basically promote financial inclusion, and while doing so, we also try to promote literacy. As a first step, under the Pradhan Mantri Jan Dhan Yojana program, we have encouraged all persons to take up a financial asset in a bank, that is a savings account. This savings account yields a return, and that return basically helps in promoting economic development around the country. Second thing that we are very, very concerned about is that rural areas have a credit to deposit ratio that is below the par level of 77%. Why 77%? If we take the CRR and the SLR, it is 19 plus 4% roughly. So that comes to 23%. So 77% is the par level that the bank should be, the credit to deposit ratio should be 77%. Unfortunately, in most of the rural areas in the country, it varies between 28 to 50%. We are working very hard in the rural areas of Pune to increase this to over 77%. One of the major steps in doing so is increasing the amount of liability or the cash drawn that is taken up. Even within the liability spectrum, we are working very hard to ensure that the liability that is taken up, it is not just overdraft facilities like the Kisan credit card, but term loans that go into creating and accessing productive assets in rural areas. The reason why it is important that productive assets are bought in rural areas is that this increases labor productivity, the entire productivity of the economy, and it is ultimately that labor productivity that helps in reducing poverty amongst people. As a measure for poverty alleviation, we are working very hard to ensure that not only the assets that are gained through liability increases, but also the quality of the liability taken is more towards a term loan rather than operational overdraft facilities. We are currently running a program along with the lead banks and all other banks in the district to basically extend Mudra Shishu loans to all our small shopkeepers. One of the limitations is because the shopkeepers in rural areas do not have the Shop Act licenses, it becomes very, very difficult for them to access the Mudra Shishu loans. We are working with the lead banks. Because we are working with all these banks, we are hoping to increase financial literacy through that program. Another way of increasing financial literacy is through the banking correspondence network. I'm happy to report before this August audience here that the banking correspondence network in the district of Pune is almost 100%. We have regional rural banks have appointed banking correspondents in every village. In addition to that, we have banking correspondents through the postal payments bank. Now, because of these two banking correspondents, we were able to open accounts of 64,000 migrants in the last 1 year, so as to transfer benefits of DBT, transfer benefits of several other benefits for the migrant, specifically migratory labor. And out of the 64,000 people that roughly benefited, 3,20,000 people, because 64,000 families were basically included in this program just last year. We were able to do this in a rapid period of just 17 days. That shows the strength of our banking network in the district. While doing all of these, financial literacy or understanding of various financial concepts is very, very important. And organizations like yourself, as you work with us in promoting financial inclusion through financial literacy, it really helps in taking all of this to the grassroots level. We hope that the NCRT and SCRT, as per the directions given by the National Education Policy, would be including financial literacy in classes in, I'm hopeful, in upper primary and secondary and higher schools, and that is going to systematically improve literacy in our country. This is one aspect that is very important to us, and it should not become an optional program itself. The world of finance, as I was describing in the beginning of my keynote address, is very, very beautiful. It is very, very complex. It is very, very engaging and engrossing. And I hope that the knowledge of the world of finance, the discovery of the world of finance, that is very limited to roughly 10% of India's population, because not more than 10% are investing in, say, stock markets, are not investing in systematic investment plans, not investing in fixed deposits. So this should increase beyond the 10%, 20% of our population and reach 100% of our population, because that is the way of reducing poverty, because the increase in the asset value of various this thing, increase in valuation of various things that are done by especially the base of pyramid sector is going to really help in reducing poverty, which is the larger aim of the organization that I'm heading currently. And we hope to be doing that in a very, very rapid pace. I'd like to thank your organization for inviting me. I'd like to thank this initiative of Tata Capital for Financial Literacy, and I hope that we are able to reach 100% of the population with regard to literacy very, very soon. And more people should invest into more productive assets, access more productive assets. Smaller businesses should gain the finance to invest into more productive assets, become more and more productive, and we should grow our economy so that we can achieve the twin vision of zero poverty and shared prosperity that was articulated by the former president of the World Bank, and that has been led by Honorable Prime Minister of India through the Dhan Gyan mission program, the Mudra program, as well as the state government of Maharashtra through various initiatives in the state of Maharashtra. I'd like to thank your organization for inviting me. Thank you for giving me this opportunity to address all of you. And I'd like to again apologize for getting late and for the technical glitches that I faced. Thank you so much, and Jai Hind, Jai Maharashtra.
Sir, there is a question if you would like to address, that is by Sohan Ghosh. Which assets will grow rapidly in the future?
Which aspects should grow rapidly in the future?
Assets.
Assets. Okay, I am no longer a financial advisor, so I'm actually not well placed to answer this question. I'm sure there are many experts on this panel who could answer this question. I've in fact been disconnected with the world of finance for roughly 6.5 years now. So beyond fixed deposits, I don't think I have investments also anywhere else. But the assets that I expect, if you ask me very personally, the assets that are showing great growth currently is anything that is linked to the digital market economy. This is an asset that is growing very rapidly. Physical markets are shrinking, in fact, because I'm seeing myself, because we handle the property tax regime for almost 11 lakh households plus the commercial and other establishments in the district of Pune. So I'm seeing that rental incomes are falling, and more people are shifting to the digital ecosystem. The value of the assets that are anything that is linked to the digital ecosystem was expected to grow very rapidly, primarily because the distributional cost in the digital ecosystem has been reducing. Second is the logistical assets are also expected to grow very rapidly. These are two sectors that I envisage to be growing. Third is because of the COVID pandemic, I'm also seeing a rise in assets of healthcare sector. So these three assets are growing very rapidly, and more and more people invest into these assets. Of course, there's going to be a cool down as we go ahead, but in the short to medium term basis, I believe that there's a lot of value in these assets, and they seem to be growing quite rapidly in the current scenario.
Okay, thank you so much, sir. And I love the word that you use is a shared responsibility. And I hope we all share this responsibility of making this nation a totally financially literate nation. And your thoughtful insights and your valuable advices, which I'm sure everybody is going to take it and it will be useful for all of us. Thank you, sir, for taking out your valuable time and sharing your time with us and throwing so many, showing so many aspects of this financial literacy to this session. So thank you so much for joining us today.